My name is Raul, and yeah, this talk about the modern tester role hopes to say a little bit of how I understand this role and how can you help your team further, or can you help the testers in your team further if you're not a tester, which I hope we get some attendees that also are interested in this topic, not being testers. So yeah, all being said, we can soon get started with it. Just a little thing, if you look at the top right corner, you will see some numbers in there. These are for the Slido platform. If you're not familiar with that, it enables some kind of polls during your presentations. So if you go to slido.com and enter that number, at some points during this presentation, you will get the chance to interact and give your 2 cents about what we are about to discuss or contribute to the presentation. So yeah, having said that, let's get the party started. And to get that, we could start from the very beginning. So maybe you're a tester, maybe you're not, but in any case, I would like you to imagine either your first steps as a tester or the first time you interacted with a tester. How was that interaction? How did you start? What did you think testing was? And then think about your current understanding of the testing role. So just take a few seconds and picture that in your mind. Imagine your first steps as a tester, your first understanding of the testing role. And in a few minutes, when we have seen all the topics that I'm hoping to cover here, and we can discuss and see if those impressions you have in your mind right now would coincide or will match what we're going to speak about. Spoiler alert, I think testers have to be a little bit of troublemakers, but we'll see about that. So, going back to our question on the screen, what is testing? So we have the classic definition in here. This is like a scene of presenting storytelling, like putting so much text on the screen, but bear with me, please. Let me read this. So a classic definition is the process consisting of all life cycle activities, both static and dynamic, concerned with planning, preparation, and evaluation of a component or system and related work products to determine that they satisfy specified requirements, to demonstrate that they are fit for purpose, and to detect defects. Okay, let me take some air. Now, this is like a official definition of testing from the glossary of the ISTQB certification for testers. I don't know what your opinion is about this. For me, if it makes me get out of breath, it's not worthy. So, but this is a classic definition. So we have it in here. Let's go to our borrow definition. And I say borrowed because this is not something that I came up with. You have the links in there if you want to expand a little bit on how this definition was achieved and the persons behind it reached to them. But I quite like the simplicity that has. Testing is the process of evaluating a system by learning about it through exploration and experimentation. As you can see, quite different. I really like I said, the simplicity in what is presented and the complexity that is behind these 2-3 lines of text. I think this is really, really important. There are some keywords in here: exploration and experimentation. So with that initial tool we have, like a definition of testing, we can move forward into the presentation and keep exploring a little bit this tester role. So if that is our definition for testing, what is a test? If we take the previous definition, a test is an activity part of testing. And like it says in here, the purpose of testing would be discovering the status of the system and any threats to his value. And why do we want this? Because it's in the end, our customers, the people responsible for the products, those are the people that make decisions about the product. And if we inform them of the current status of the system, the product, and those possible threats, then is when they can do proper informed decisions that bring value to the product. So, a lot of theory. Let's move forward then. To do proper testing, what do you need? Make sure you know. What do you need to have clear to do some interesting, valuable testing? So it's very important that you have the context clear. I believe that context is really important. Who is the customer? What does the customer want us to investigate? It's not relevant, equally relevant for every industry. A determined functionality, a determined feature will have very different relevance in different industries. So the context in here is very important. Think, I don't know, about airplanes, like the guiding system on planes, the software that's behind it, medical equipment. Failures on that software has critical, really, really important repercussions, legal repercussions, ethical repercussions. So testers there have to do their work in a very, very specific way. Just to keeping that in mind, then we move to the next set of questions. So how much time do you have for testing? Do you need to go in deep for that system, for that product? Do you have to take a decision about what is the critical aspects of that product that need to be taken into account for your testing? Time factor is really important. Also, what do you do after that? What kind of feedback does the customer expect? Like proper full testing reports. He expects like frequent verbal updates. Should they be formal so they can be communicated to other stakeholders, to other parties, or should be just informal updates just to make sure everything's still in place? All that is really important and has to be taken into account. Other thing you can where you can also contribute, and you need to know if you can contribute as a tester, is the beginning of things, the design, the planning sessions. Are you able to contribute this? I'm really hoping the answer is yes, because testers can add a lot of value in those sessions, and it's understanding of the product that comes with that exploration and experimentation that we were mentioning before, that helps and enables the testers to contribute greatly on those sessions. It's really important as well to know how to report circumstances that threaten the value of the product. This relates to the previous point of feedback, where you have to know what kind of feedback is expected, and then you tie in this and to report your findings in the best possible way. And as a summary, you should know how to be a researcher. In the testing world, you can really relate to the science research role. Is a person that has to learn about something, has to investigate, check the existing literature, check wherever information is about the system, do some trials, try this, take some notes, document your findings and publish them. So for me, there's plenty of common points in these two professions, and you really need to know how to be a researcher to do good testing, in my opinion, at least. To reach what objective? Well, if you are armed with all that knowledge, you have the context, you know how to interact with your stakeholders, you know how to report your findings, you have the time to do it, and you can contribute on the different levels of the product, then you can do credible testing, and it will be cost effective. It's really difficult to demonstrate the value of testing. It's one of these things that gives a lot of headaches in our craft to how do we demonstrate our time and effort is meaningful. So adhering to that knowledge we gained before, we can really enable us to do this credible, cost-effective testing that informs of anything that compromises that commitment. So now we have one of those polls that I was mentioning before we jump into the next topic. So what do you think? Do you feel like you work isolated in your team, or do you feel like the testers in your team are isolated? So let's see if anyone is able to log in and give some answers to this. Meanwhile, while the answers start getting in, let me tell you what I think it should happen. You need to be embedded of the team. That's the ideal scenario. Sometimes, hopefully, it never would be higher. Sometimes it's clearly winning. We can check on those numbers later, but yeah, the answer would be testing is working with developers and the wider team. That would be my preferred answer. So what kind of activities can a tester take on to contribute and be further enabling and helping the team? So experimenting, like we said in the beginning, discover something worth building, experiment imaginatively and suspiciously. That's the what can sum up the exploratory testing techniques. It's basically exploration on the product. That's your understanding of the product to a new whole level that enables you to come up with new tests that can feed back your previous testing activities, and this goes on and on in a cycle that makes your testing more effective each time. Heuristics. deep testing for rare hidden problems, having heuristics on your mind when you're testing, when you're defining the risks for the product for further testing is really, really, really helpful. If you don't know what heuristics are, they are some kind of fallible rules of thumb, let's say, that you can use to guide your testing, or you can use to inform your testing, or structure, let's say, and enabling you to get a clear outcome of what you're trying to achieve. Third point, testing that helps developing the vision of the product. It's very important to communicate your findings. If you communicate the finds, the stuff you found out in your exploratory testing sessions, during your testing activities, it can enable improvements in the product. If you just see something weird, oh, that's weird, and you just move into the next thing, you have to check. Something may be missing in there, and it may be something important. So don't be afraid to communicate everything that you feel needs a proper look to your team. And then do some kind of reporting. This helps build different iterations, and you have to take into account that you can carry output checking, reviews. That reporting will also enable the team to develop the product further. What else? Build with change in mind. Make preparations for the test process to evolve. Documenting everything helps you to document, to have that test process in a constant state of evolution, of proper evolution to a better state. Coach. You have to foster testability. You have to coach, as a tester, you have to coach people into quality, tell them how important this is. You are the tester, you are the people with the knowledge about the topic, and it's your responsibility to transmit that in any way to the team so they understand as well the importance of testing. It's really important, if it's in your capabilities, to monitor the system, study what has been built, and keep an eye on that. Be ready to report to the business any problem that is happening with the system right now, and help with the solution. And take all that feedback and keep moving forward. How do we create value? Doing all this in a summary, documenting all our findings concisely, documents free of clutter, that relevant all the important information, doing those reports and communicating with the relevant stakeholders enables quick decision making from the business, which is crucial. And if we use precise speech in those reports, in that documentation we take, that fosters that honest relationship we want with our clients, and we avoid misunderstandings. So, quick note on automation testing, question mark. So, you think it's important? What is automation testing? There is no automation testing. Testing cannot be automated. Some of you may say, well, this is just a way of saying things, is grammar, is your choice of words, but I think words are important. Testing, as we saw, is the sum of a lot of important activities. Intellectual, high complexity intellectual activities. You cannot automate that. So testing cannot be automated. But we can do checking and tool-assisted testing. You can automate data generation for your tests. You can enable, make use of automation suites to get some checks on your system. It's important to know that the problem has to come first than the solution. So just don't jump into automate all the things. Like my colleague Andrea said in a previous presentation today, really think about what has to be automated. And then that's the process. Observe the system, evaluate the system with your automated checks. Look at the report that those automated checks are giving you and repeat to keep improving the process. So another quick question, and that will make a center in the last section of this talk. How do you refer to the person with the testing role in your team? Is the tester? Is the QA guy? Is the QA engineer? Let's go for it. I'll give you my answer. Hopefully the QA guy is not your preferred choice. I don't want to meddle with your answers, but quality engineers. It's being QA'd, it's on QA, I'm a QA. Are you sure about that? Do you have control of every quality related aspect? Have you talked with the business analyst, with the product owner of every aspect in the specifications? Do you review every line of code? Do you take charge of the unit tests and you run them? Do you talk to all the devs? Do you review all the previous existing functionality? Can you change the project budget because of quality aspects? If you cannot
For your information,
that,
you have 3 minutes left.
I think that's enough. Thank you, Carlos. So I was saying, if you're not in charge of all that, you're not in charge of quality assurance. Quality is a team effort. From the to-do column, specification, development, testing, everything is quality assurance. Quality spans all across the board. And quality engineers should take care of a lot of stuff. A test plan, understanding the code and suggesting improvements, monitor if you can, automation if you are in the position to enable it, of course, knowing about version control, and above all, thinking like the customer. Because we have been sold that the tester, the quality engineer, has a job which is checking the developer code, and that's it. And I think our role goes beyond that. We have to do all of this. We are not happy enough in our roles shifting left, like the title of this presentation says, of shifting right. We have to shift everywhere, be at any place in that development cycle that we are needed. And we don't have to check the developer's code. We have to experiment. We have to try to do things with the product and look for problems. So look for trouble. Like we said at the beginning in the presentation, be a troublemaker. Look for some trouble in your product at least.